Am I the a-hole for telling my friend's husband about her past after she told my date that I, quote, got around?
My name's Evelyn, I'm 33, and let's just say I haven't had the best luck in love. I've dated quite a few guys since high school, but none of them ever felt like the one. Most of my relationships fizzled out in 6 months or less, and I can admit that I've got a bit of a history. I was definitely the type to go out with my girlfriends, hit the clubs, and enjoy myself. I'm a pretty girl, and I've had my fair share of fun, but lately, I'm realizing it's probably time to settle down. One of my close friends, Beth, 32F, has been telling me the same thing. She got married a couple of years ago to this guy named Adam, who works in tech and is a super stable, nice guy. I know Beth from way back. We were clubbing together for years, and I know she had her wild times, too. Let's just say, if anyone in our group, quote, got around, Beth is right there with me. I was telling Beth that it's time for me to get serious, so she decided to set me up with one of Adam's friends, Bob, a computer programmer. Now, Bob is definitely not the kind of guy I'd usually go for. Not to sound conceited, I am physically out of his league. He's sweet and makes good money, but he's a complete nerd. We sat down to dinner on our first date, and after a few minutes of small talk, he went off on his first tangent.
You know, I just can't believe what Disney's done with Star Wars under the Kennedy regime. It's like they took this entire cultural phenomenon and just completely gutted it for the sake of what they perceive as good marketing.
Oh, yeah, I said, trying to sound engaged while reaching for my drink. That's intense.
It really is. They're totally ignoring the canon. The whole storyline with Luke, it's like they don't even care about his character arc. He would never run away to an island and hide. It's not the Jedi way.
I nodded along, only half listening as he kept going. I tried steering the conversation to something lighter. So, what do you do for fun? I asked, hoping for something. I don't know, a little less intense.
Oh, I have a lot of hobbies. I love coding in my spare time, and I've been rewatching the old Star Trek series. You know, the original ones, aka the good ones, aka before they ruined it. I feel like no one today understands just how groundbreaking the old Star Trek was, you know.
He launched into a passionate rant about the different Star Trek series, comparing their storylines and talking about how the newer ones were too flashy and disrespectful to the legacy. I was about 3 sips into my wine before I realized I was zoning out. Yeah, totally, I said, nodding as he went on, trying to keep my eyes from glazing over. On our second date, it was more of the same. I was hoping he'd ease up on the sci-fi and tech stuff, but he didn't. In fact, he was even more enthusiastic.
Did you know that if you look at the company structures of Apple, Microsoft, and Google, they're actually following 3 distinct tech business models that are based on medieval trade guilds?
He said, pushing his glasses up his nose. Wow, no. I had no idea, I replied, forcing a smile. I tried to bring the conversation around to something more relatable. So, do you go out much? You know, like bars, dancing, that kind of thing.
Not really. I mean, the club scene isn't exactly my thing, though I went to a gaming convention last year, and we had a pretty wild LAN party afterward.
I stared at him, completely lost. A LAN party? He grinned.
Yeah. It's where a bunch of gamers hook up their computers in the same place and play together. It's amazing. We play for like 12 hours straight.
Oh, wow, I said, faking enthusiasm. That sounds intense. Inwardly, I groaned. I mean, he was sweet, and he seemed to genuinely like me, but we were on different planets. Still, I was starting to feel my age, and the idea of a nice guy who actually wanted to settle down seemed appealing. After a few days of radio silence from Bob, I couldn't shake a nagging feeling. I wasn't sure if I wanted to see him again, but it bugged me that he hadn't followed up. I mean, not to sound conceited, but I know I'm a catch, and guys are usually quick to text back. But Bob? Nothing. It got to the point where I texted Beth to see if she had any insight. She said that she would talk to Adam and get back to me. Later that evening, my phone buzzed, and Beth's name lit up the screen.
Hey, you. So I talked to Adam.
Oh, okay. Spill, I said, intrigued.
Apparently, Bob has a really big surprise for you.
A surprise? I repeated, raising an eyebrow. Like, what kind of surprise?
Well, I don't know the full details, but he's working on something for you. He said he wanted it to be perfect before he contacted you again. He didn't tell Adam exactly what it is, but he's been putting a lot of time into it.
That piqued my curiosity. Huh, interesting, I said, my skepticism softening a bit. Maybe there's more to him than I thought.
That's what I was thinking. I think he really likes you, Evelyn. I mean, this guy wouldn't do all this for just anyone, you know?
Well, I guess we'll see, I replied, my interest genuinely stirred. I started to imagine what the surprise might be. Maybe he was planning something thoughtful, something that would make up for his nerdy ramblings and show me a different side of him. Flowers? Maybe a cute date with something geeky but charming? Whatever it was, it sounded like he was putting effort into it, and I couldn't help but feel a little flutter of excitement. Thanks for digging around for me, Beth, I said, laughing a little. Guess I will just have to wait and see what this big surprise is all about.
Oh, you're so welcome. I can't wait to hear what it is too. Call me after.
When we met up for dinner, Bob pulled up with this huge grin on his face. I dressed up, hoping maybe this big surprise would be something really romantic. I was in such high anticipation in the car ride to the restaurant. He reached into his pocket and handed me a folded-up piece of paper once we ordered our drinks. His eyes sparkled as he watched me, clearly expecting a big reaction.
Here, I've been working on this for you. I wanted it to be perfect before I gave it to you. Let me read this to you, or better yet, serenade you.
He had 2 copies of some paper. I started unfolding my copy, expecting maybe a simple love poem or maybe a flight itinerary to Cancun. But then, I saw the title scrawled across the top. Taming Trouble? He looked at me with a bright smile and began to read.
Once, she was wild, from the other side of the tracks. A girl who'd been around, was always on her back. I'm the nice guy, the one who took a chance. To tame her wild heart, one had to get her off the horizontal dance.
My heart sank and I became confused in his words, each line somehow worse than the last as he continued reading.
She's been everywhere, had her share of flings. But now with me, she'll wear sweeter bling. From the streets to sweetheart, I'm her knight in white. Saving her from so many promiscuous nights.
I looked up at him, wide-eyed, but he just kept beaming at me, apparently unaware of the shock and disgust forming on my face. What the f*** is this? I asked, struggling to keep my voice even.
It's our love story,
he said, as if it were obvious.
You're this wild, free-spirited girl with a past, and I'm the good guy who's here to tame you, you know? I mean, don't you love it?
He could tell by my face that I did not. He quickly said,
Hold on, there is one more verse. It will make you understand everything. I'll take her from chaos, make her mine alone. Show her a love she's never known. Though she's gone around the block many times before. With me, she's finally found the door.
I felt a wave of anger rise up, my cheeks flushing. He seemed so proud, so clueless, like he genuinely thought this would touch my heart. You're serious? I asked, my voice icy. Bob's smile faltered just slightly, but he recovered quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's us, right? I am this college-educated guy, career-driven, and you are just this amazing, gorgeous disaster, with a crazy past, and now, you are finally getting some peace. We are like 2 sides of a coin. I thought it was beautiful.
Beautiful? I repeated, incredulous. I held up the paper between us. Do you hear yourself? You're basically calling me a slut who needs saving. You know that I am out of your league, right? He blinked, taken aback.
Yes, I know you are out of my league. That is what this makes it, an epic love story, where 2 people from different sides of the tracks on different paths meet and fall in love. It is kind of like a rom-com, kind of like Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman. She is a prostitute in that movie. Are you calling me a f***ing hooker?
No way. I said like Pretty Woman, but not exactly like it.
Where are you getting this shit?
Well, I kind of sensed it when I first met you, and Beth and Adam told me some stuff.
Really? What exactly did Beth tell you?
You know. Just some one-night stands, that you dated some old rich men because they had money, you sold feet pics online, and you...
I couldn't take what he was saying anymore and interrupted him and told him, first off, I dated one guy that was 48 that looked like he was in his 30s, and he was hot. I sold like 3 pics of my f***ing feet, not the rest of my body. Bob stood there, frozen. He didn't know what to say, clearly too stunned to form an answer. But that silence only made it worse. It made me feel like he was validating every single low blow he'd just made, like I was some project for him to fix, a f***ing movie plot where the damaged girl gets her happy ending with the good guy. You know what, Bob? I finally shouted, my hands shaking with rage. I'm not your f***ing pretty woman, I'm not your tamed girl, and I'm sure as hell not your charity case. So take your goddamn epic love story and shove it. I didn't wait for him to respond. I turned and walked out, hearing him try to call after me, but I couldn't care less. The nerve of him, thinking he could come into my life and rewrite my story with his fantasy. He wasn't my hero. He was just another guy who thought he could put me in a box and pretend he was doing me a favor by, quote, saving me from myself. As I stepped into the cold night air, my heart was pounding with the frustration of it all. The world had taught me how to stand up for myself, how to be strong. And I wasn't about to let some man come along and try to erase all of that with his self-righteous BS. I took an Uber back to my car. My rage had not gone down, even a little bit. I did not even go inside my house. I got in the car and drove straight to Beth's house. I was shaking with anger as I stormed out of my car and walked up to Beth's house. I didn't even give myself time to think. My fists were clenched, my chest was tight, and I knew I had to confront her. She had no right to throw me under the bus like that. When she and Adam opened the door, I didn't even hesitate. I pushed my way inside without waiting for an invitation, my voice already loud and steady with fury. Why the hell did you tell Bob about my past? I demanded, my eyes burning with rage. What the fuck, Beth? What right did you have to tell him about my life like that? Beth looked shocked, her hands still on the doorframe, but her expression quickly shifted to one of defense.
What the hell are you talking about? I didn't tell him anything that wasn't true.
I was practically spitting with anger. Oh, really? You didn't tell him that I've been around the block? You didn't paint me like I'm some kind of used-up slut who's finally ready to settle down. I took a step toward her, poking her chest with my finger. Tell me you didn't feed him all that bullshit. Her face reddened, and she shook her head.
It's not like that, Evelyn. I didn't say that. I just mentioned you were looking to settle down now that you're older. I didn't mean for him to—
Don't f***ing lie to me, I snapped. If I'm a dirty girl, then so are you, Beth. I know more than you, Adam, and you're about to find out if she has been keeping shit from you. I leaned in close, my voice lowering to a sharp whisper. You really want me to tell Adam about all your hookups, your late-night club antics? The things you did with guys before you met him? The ones I'm sure he doesn't know about. Beth's face went white, and I could see the panic flash in her eyes.
Don't you dare. That's not—
Remember the guy you f***ed in the bathroom of that club in Vegas, Beth? The one who barely looked old enough to drink. I said, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. Or how about the time you and I both hooked up with that guy in Miami, the one who took you home and told everyone on social media how you were so good at, all the things you did that night? I watched as her face flushed redder and redder, her eyes wide with shock and embarrassment. Adam was standing there, his mouth slightly open, trying to process what I was saying. But I didn't care. I wasn't about to let her get away with throwing me under the bus like that. You want to call me a dirty girl and tell Bob all that crap about me, Beth. I went on, my voice growing louder. Then you better be ready for your secrets to come out, too. Because I've got plenty of stories. Stories I know you never told Adam. Beth took a step back, horrified, as if I'd just exposed her whole life in front of her husband.
Shut your stupid mouth up, Evelyn. Get the f*** out of here, right now.
I didn't back down. I'm not leaving until you understand how f***ed up it is that you betrayed me like this. You spread my personal life around like it's some kind of gossip, and I won't sit here and let you act like you're so innocent. You want me to be the wild girl? Fine. But you were just as bad, and you're not going to pretend like you weren't. Beth's eyes filled with tears as she shouted again.
I said shut up. You're crossing a line, Evelyn. I can't believe you're doing this to me.
I turned to Adam, locking eyes with him for a moment before speaking in a biting tone. I just wanted you to know the truth. Because Beth obviously doesn't think you're entitled to know about the fun she had before you. But don't worry, I won't tell you everything. I'm sure it's enough for now. I could hear them arguing behind me as I left. The door slammed, but I couldn't care less. My heart was still racing, my blood boiling, but part of me felt this rush of satisfaction. She had made me the villain, and I wasn't going to just take it lying down. She needed to know that there were consequences to airing out my past. She wasn't the saint she thought she was, and if she wanted to throw stones at me, I'd throw them right back. As I got into my car, I could feel a mix of emotions swirling inside me. Part of me was still angry, but there was this feeling of relief, of standing up for myself. Beth had crossed a line by telling Bob things about me that were none of his business, and I didn't care if it made her uncomfortable. She deserved to know what it felt like to have her dirty laundry aired in front of everyone. But then, in the pit of my stomach, I felt a twinge of doubt. Maybe I had gone too far. Maybe I shouldn't have brought her past into her marriage. But she had forced my hand by betraying me first. And I wasn't going to apologize for calling her out. Not this time. As the car sped down the road, I wondered if things would ever be the same between us again. Would Beth ever forgive me? And even if she did I even care anymore? So, am I the a-hole?
Now, let's hear what the people have to say in the comments. Tasty Buns 204 says,
Yes, you are the a-hole, but not to your friend. She is simply a co-star in the story. The real hero is Bob. Girl, you're clearly missing the boat, and it's time to get on freaking board. Your life is playing out like a classic rom-com, and Bob is the guy who's ready to make your messy story beautiful. Yeah, I said it. This is your she's all that, but instead of a bad haircut and a paint-splattered dress, Bob's trying to transform your wild girl past into a narrative about redemption and true love. Is it clumsy? Most definitely. But you know what? So was Freddie Prinze Jr. turning Rachel Lee Cook into a prom queen in 5 minutes, and everyone ate that up. Let's talk about Pretty Woman, the very example you're scoffing at. Yes, Julia Roberts' character was a literal prostitute, but that movie is about transcending labels. That's what Bob's doing here. He's not calling you names. He's acknowledging that you're someone with a complicated past who deserves a fairy tale future. Richard Gere didn't get dragged for saving Julia, so why is Bob catching heat for writing a poem that basically says, I see you, and I love you anyway? Or take Maid in Manhattan. Jennifer Lopez was a maid pretending to be someone she wasn't, and Ralph Fiennes still chased her through a hotel to confess his love. You're over here yelling at Bob for daring to make you his focus while ignoring the fact that he's trying to elevate you above whatever baggage you think disqualifies you from romance. And don't even get me started on Cinderella's story. Chad Michael Murray fell for Hilary Duff's anonymous emails, even when she was hiding behind a cheap diner uniform. Bob's your Chad Michael Murray. He's showing up for you, even when you're busy acting like you're too good for his video game parties and star whatever marathons. The reality is, rom-coms are built on the foundation of mismatched pairs, your wild chaos, his grounded nerdiness. That's the formula. So, yeah, Bob's poetry was awkward, and his delivery wasn't flawless, and sure, it was quite insulting. But at the core, it was an act of pure, unfiltered, rom-com level love. And instead of leaning into it, you walked out. Do you really want to be the person who misses their chance at their runaway bride moment because you were too busy nitpicking? Evelyn, you're in a rom-com, and Bob's the leading man who's been cast perfectly. The only question is, are you willing to play your part, chase after love, and have a lovely story for the grandkids, or are you going to walk off the set before the credits roll?
Okay, that was a little lame. Let's see what Let's Go Blowhole 245 says.
Not the a-hole, not even a little bit. Beth did you dirty. She had no right to share your personal history with Bob, especially not in a way that made him feel entitled to judge or fix you. It doesn't matter her motive, either to set you up to be disrespected from the start or if she just thought that it was okay to talk crap about you, and that's not what a friend does. If she thought this was okay, she clearly doesn't understand boundaries or loyalty. And let's be real, Bob is a weird loser. Who writes a poem like that and thinks it's romantic? The whole taming the wild girl narrative is cringeworthy at best and offensive at worst. There is clearly something wrong with his brain. You had every right to call Beth out. If she's upset now, it's because she doesn't want to face the consequences of her own behavior. She should have kept her mouth shut about your past if she wasn't ready for her own skeletons to come out. You deserve better friends, and way better guys, than this mess. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for standing up for yourself.
Update time!
Hey everyone, thanks for all the feedback, advice, and support. I have a short update to share with you. After the disaster with Bob and confronting Beth, I've been trying to move on and process everything. I thought that was the end of it, but apparently, Bob wasn't done. A few days ago, I found a note stuck to my door. It was from him. I thought it might be an apology, and it pathetically kind of was, but what it just shows that there is something wrong with his brain. The letter said,
Dear Evelyn. All right, I can admit when I might have overstepped. Maybe my last note wasn't the Michelangelo of love poems I thought it was. But I need you to understand you are a masterpiece, Evelyn. A messy, chaotic, R-rated masterpiece hanging proudly in the gallery of my heart. I worked really hard on my poem, but maybe I was trying to speak like someone that I am not, so I am going to try again, with something more my speed. When I first saw you, you reminded me of a well-loved sci-fi fantasy paperback, and as we talked, I began admiring how readable you are, how every crease and scuff only makes your story richer. Sure, Beth might have painted you as some kind of wildfire, but I think you're more like lava from Mustafar, hot, unstoppable, and leaving a trail of unforgettable impressions wherever you go. Evelyn, you're my Princess Leia in a galaxy full of stormtroopers, fierce, smart, and unapologetically yourself. Sure, I'm just a scruffy nerf herder in comparison, but even Han Solo had to prove himself, right? And trust me, I'm ready to pilot the Millennium Falcon of our love straight into hyperspace. If life is an episode of Star Trek, you're my Captain Janeway, bold, commanding, and charting your own course through uncharted territory. I'm just a lowly ensign trying to beam aboard your starship, hoping you'll let me join your mission. Look, I don't care how many guys you've been with or how many feet pics you sold. That doesn't matter to me. You're like a rare Pokemon that everyone wanted but didn't know how to catch. I'm the one with the Master Ball, metaphorically speaking, of course. I hope you will give me a chance to reboot our relationship. If you're open to it, I'd like to show you I'm more than my missteps. But if not, I'll respect your wishes completely and retreat like a humbled Stark bannerman after a failed battle. Forever your groveling peasant, sworn vassal, and eternal quest giver in the grand campaign of your magnificence. Bob.
I just laughed, thinking about why I ever went on a second date with this guy, and even a third. I sent him a text telling him I forgive him, but please do not contact me again, and he hasn't. After reading your thoughts and talking to other friends and family, I have decided to stay away from Beth, at least for a while, but who knows what the future holds. Thank you all so much for reading.
It seems to me that your friend was a real biatch, but then, so are you a little. You didn't really care about the little nerd. Your ego was just hurt because you thought that he didn't call because maybe he didn't like you, and then it seems that you just wanted a surprise. A trip to Cancun? You wish. If he had taken you, you probably would have just slammed some Chad in Mexico and broke his little nerd heart. I feel sorry for your friend's husband. They say you can't turn a 304 into a housewife, but it seems maybe he had and didn't need to know about it. The gossip she said behind your back is BS, so F her. You can find a nice guy more your speed in the future. I wouldn't mind taking a look at those feet pics, just out of curiosity of course. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment and all that crap below. Pretty please.